Alright guys, I just wanted to go ahead and do a video, an update video, on this Smith & Wesson M&P that was fully customized and done by Bowie Tactical Concepts. A conservative estimate is 650 rounds for this gun. I know it's more, but I don't know the exact amount, but I can tell you for sure that it's 650 at least, so that's the minimum. I've bought Winchester White Box, 1,000 rounds of Freedom munitions. I fired self-defense rounds in between there and only used a little of that for the custom Glock. So I'm going to go ahead and put some frog lube on this, and we'll discuss what's going on with it. I also am going to be telling you what the problem was with it. There was a problem with it, okay, and we'll get into that, and it's going to be probably pretty surprising to all of you what the problem ended up being with this gun. So 650 plus rounds right now through it. Absolutely love it. It is 100% now, but in a little bit I will tell you what the problem was. Okay, so basically I bought this gun from the store brand new, and just about 3 days later, I don't know, just a few days later, without ever even shooting it or doing anything with it, I sent this to Bowie Tactical Concepts to get customized. Sorry if it's a little bit awkward, but I'm doing this, trying to get this all on camera at a weird angle. So I sent this to Bowie Tactical Concepts to get customized, and several different things I wanted to get done to it. Most of you already know, so I'm not going to go into detail. I have other videos up on that. Okay, so I got the gun back, and I ordered some bulk ammo, remanufactured ammo. Okay, is what I ordered. And the ammo's fine. We're going to get into that as well. So, here is basically what was going on. I went to the range, took this gun to the range for the first time, and I wasn't happy with the way that things were going with it, with the way it was running. I was having just too many of this weird malfunction to think that something was, or to think it was just a coincidence, let's say. I was having this freak malfunction that I rarely had ever seen before in a handgun in my life. And that would be that as the magazine was feeding, close to the end of the magazine, a round would be down in there somehow nose up, and the slide would be almost fully closed. And I couldn't figure that out. If you think about the mechanics of that, I'm not going to get into all the details, but if you think about the mechanics of a round being so low and the nose coming up at the feed ramp, how could it get positioned like that, okay? And it would even like dent the casing. Okay, so I brought the gun home, I cleaned it, you know, frog lubed it and did all this stuff to it. So the next time I go out, I take it and I say, you know what, I'm going to try to get to the bottom of this, and I'm going to find out what's going on with this gun, because I'm just not really happy with how it's running. So the next time I go to another indoor range, and I'm firing this gun, and guess what? Every single magazine for 250 rounds had a malfunction where you literally had to drop a mag and work the slide to clear it. There was no tap rack bangs. And it was one of the weirdest looking malfunctions I've ever seen. Still that same malfunction. Then something happened while I was shooting that kind of said, oh, okay, now my wheels started turning. What happened is while I was shooting this gun, when the slide went forward and back, I pulled the trigger, and all I got was a click, no bang. So I look in the loaded chamber indicator, and there's no round in this chamber. I can feel that there's rounds in the handle of the gun and in the magazine because I can feel the weight, but yet the round went off, the gun cycled, and there's no round in the chamber. So I'm like, wow, this is weird. So I pull back the slide and I look down in here, through the port on top. And basically, the rounds were down in the magazine about that far in the magazine and weren't coming up. They were not coming up in the magazine. This is not a mag issue. Let me go ahead and give you a hint there. This ends up not being a mag issue. Okay, and it had nothing to do with Bowie custom tactical work whatsoever. This had absolutely nothing to do with Bowie and nothing to do with the reman ammo. The reman ammo has been 100%. So it does it again, and I looked down in there, and I had my mag release on the left-hand side for a left-handed shooter. But when I would drop the magazine, the rounds would be like this. They would be normal, okay? So basically what I'm telling you is when I'd pull back the slide and look down in the gun when it went click, the rounds were down here in the magazine. The top round was right here, literally. I'm looking down in there. Then when I release the magazine, the rounds are magically normal. They're all the way up at the top. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Talked to a gunsmith for a little bit. He didn't even really come up with an answer. So I said, you know what? I'm going to figure out what this is. I'm going to figure out what this problem is here. At that point, I knew I was dealing with something that definitely was something stemming from the lower portion of this gun. I knew the problem was stemming from the lower portion of this gun. One time I pulled the slide back when I had a click after the gun went off, and the magazine and the bullets were staggered. The rounds were staggered down here, and there was a loose round on top that could roll back and forth in here, you know? And I'm like, man, what in the world is going on here? So I got to thinking, and I went home and started thinking about this, and I said, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I love this gun, and how does it happen to be that the gun I love probably more than anything I have right now is going to do this to me? You know, I thought I'm going to keep my cool. I'm not going to let my anger get up. I'm going to keep my cool, and I'm going to work this out one way or the other. I'm going to be patient. Okay, so what I ended up trying to do was basically looking at the mag catch. Now, as you see, the mag catch is set up for a right-handed shooter. It was set up for a left-handed shooter. I got to looking down at the mag catch, okay? And wherever your button is for the magazine release, the steel mag catch is on the other side that goes into the magazine. Where's that at? It goes into the magazine right here or right here to lock in your magazine. Okay, so basically here was the whole problem with this gun, why it malfunctioned one magazine every 250 rounds. Let me do this and show you. And then I'll tell you what happened after I found this problem, and I'll tell you that in a second. Okay, so it'd always be near the end of the mag, and right here, there would be just a few rounds left. Okay, 4 or 5 rounds. Right here. Right here's the position the magazine would be in. Now, what I want you to do is pay close attention right here. This is where your mag, the steel piece, when you're set up for a left-hander and your button's over here, that puts this part, which is the steel piece that inserts in this magazine slot, that locks it in, goes into here. Now, see this right here, where you see the white of the follower? Is this coming clear yet? See this over here, where there's nothing in the way? Well, what happens is when you load up one of these mags, and you put these rounds in, not only is the follower close to this hole, it forces this follower over even further. And what happened was every time I would shoot this gun, with the steel mag catch being on this side for a left-handed shooter, it was catching the follower. Once I realized that, I was happy beyond belief. You have no idea how happy I was, because I went from a gun that I thought, this is just going to be a unicorn. I'll have no idea what's wrong with it. It'll never work, and it just is my bad luck to me finding what the problem was, and I was just ecstatic with it. So I look online, Problem, and this is what I type in, problem with M&P, Smith & Wesson M&P, switching mag release to the left-hand side. And guess what? I found threads all over the internet of guys talking about how they switch the magazine to the left-hand side, which would be the button right here, and how their guns at that point proceeded to give them nothing but trouble. I read threads where people sent the gun back to Smith & Wesson, and what their fix is they actually take something and sand down part of the follower so it doesn't get caught on that steel. Let me see if I can show you right here. If you look down in the gun, I'm hoping there's enough light. It's right here on the corner. Right there. It's the piece you see sticking out in there. Right here. I'm hoping, I can't see the camera, but I'm hoping you can see it. That piece would have been over here. So, what Smith & Wesson would do, see, here's the thing. Smith & Wesson never, ever tests these guns from a left-handed side when they leave the factory. All Smith & Wesson's guns leave the factory in a right-handed configuration, which is right here. Never do they fire any guns that leave the factory in a left-handed configuration. Starting to make sense to you yet? So, what happens is that steel tab that locks the mag in, if you have the release set up on this side, goes in too far and it hits the follower. So what was happening was these rounds would stick down in here, and when the gun would recoil, this round that was closest to the top would fly back like this while these rounds are stuck down here, and the slide would force this the nose up against the feed ramp and dent the casing, thus producing the weirdest malfunction I've ever seen in a handgun in my life. Now, I switched the mag release where the locking tab is on this side now. See how there's nothing in the way whatsoever? A whole clear thing there. You could have a ton of room if you need it. See how there's nothing there? Now the locking tab is on this side. This gun, 300-400 rounds without one single malfunction with the cheapest remanufactured ammo that I could find anywhere online. Not one single malfunction. So, there was the problem. It had nothing whatsoever to do with David Bowie, who I still say to this day, I still can't believe this gun. I still can't believe how awesome this gun is. Let me tell you something. I paid like any other customer for this gun to be done. David Bowie didn't even know who I was when I was sending him this gun. And I have no vested interest in David Bowie's, in what David Bowie does in any way, shape, or form. If you are considering sending any of your guns, whether it be Smith or Glock, to David Bowie, let me tell you, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. A few $100s, okay? A few $100s will end up getting you one of the best guns that you've ever handled, one of the best triggers that I've ever handled on a polymer gun in my entire life. I wish I would have done something like this years ago. Years ago, I should have got myself something like this. I really have no other words to tell you but that. If I would have known, this would have been something that I would have done years ago. I mean, David Bowie is just the top at what he does. He is the top, and I have no problem saying that. It takes a lot for me to say that about somebody. There's so many people out there that can do stuff with your guns. And he is the top. Reasonable prices. He is really reasonable. You know? I can't say enough good things. I really can't. About David Bowie and his services. And, you know, what he does to these guns and how this trigger feels. I've let maybe half a dozen or more shooters, I mean, I'm talking about guys that know guns, try this trigger, and I have yet to see where one person pulls this trigger and doesn't look at me with their jaw all the way open hitting the floor, so to speak. Everybody that pulls this trigger, I have them dry fire it, they immediately keep the gun pointed down range, turn their head to me with their eyes as wide as they'll open and their mouth hanging all the way open, and they just look at me. And I just look at them and smile and say, see what I told you? That's what David Bowie did. Yeah, so all good news all the way around. The remanufactured ammo from Freedom Munitions is fine. I will be ordering more. I apologize to Freedom Munitions that I first started to blame your ammo. Your ammo runs as good as I could want it to run. I have not one single complaint with it, and I will be buying more. It does upset me just a tad that Smith & Wesson cannot correct the problem of the magazine release. What I found is I keep it set up for a right-handed shooter, and what I found is it actually works out better for me because I come back and with my left hand or with my left finger I release the magazine. Okay, it's even a better position. It's faster for me to reload, and several guys that are right-handed were saying they had switched it over to use with their right hand, because when I'm shooting, instead of me trying to come up, see how far I would be from the button if the button were there. I'm kind of at an awkward angle. But when I'm shooting and I slide lock, it's so natural for me just to come back. I can't show you this in front of the camera because I'm out of view, but I'd be coming back toward my chest, up and over, and just, I would be coming back and up, boom, and hit that mag release. So it's the fastest way for me. Okay, let's do a little report on the Viridian. This is the Viridian XL5 light and laser. There's both of them on. Pulsing laser. Let me go through these and get there's the laser right there. I really like this thing. There's only one thing I had a little problem with, and that was not these screws. These screws stayed firm for 300 plus rounds. The first time I put this on this gun, I shot over 300 through it. These screws stayed firm. Where I had a little bit of a problem was I felt like that the laser was doing good, and then I felt like I was missing. And I kind of just out of instinct, I took it and wiggled it right here, and it moved up and down just about 1/8 of an inch. What had happened was this screw here that holds the mounting rails on, the tiny screw, and this screw here that holds the mounting rails on had just worked back just enough to let it, see, this holds the body of this in there like a clamp to let it go back and forth. I wish the Viridian would have put a screw up here and another screw here instead of having this like a pivot point right here where this screw is. But after retightening it down, it did it once again, just a hair, and I tightened them. Now it's been staying solid. Worst case scenario, I'll use Loctite, which totally voids out the warranty, but hey, I love this. Here's a good plus about this if you guys want to know why. You cannot discern. This is the only thing I've had on a gun. You really can't even discern it's there when you're shooting. Number one, it's a 1-battery unit. Batteries are heavy. I mean, batteries are a little on the heavy side, even a CR123. This weighs about 2 ounces, I think, empty. So the body of this is aluminum, it's got polymer, and you only have 1 battery. Yeah, the Surefires are great. I don't want to spend $500 on a Surefire, but I would never put down a Surefire. I think they're top of the line. But you're running a wider, bigger 2-battery unit. You are bound to have more weight. When you add a bigger body and 2 batteries, you're going to have more weight. You don't discern that this is on the gun when you shoot, if you understand what I mean. When I'm holding this gun, I don't feel this at the front. I literally, honestly don't. So having this on here does not change the dynamics of the gun in my hand. I would like to go to a training class real soon. I would like to do David Bowie's training class. You know, number one, I already know the man, and I've spoken with him several times on the phone, and I would love to be able to train with him. Only problem is, David Bowie's class has just started because the season's good here in Ohio, and he's booked until November. So I'm going to have to play that by ear. David, if you're watching this, and you can get me in, and maybe I'll do videos of your range or something, let me know. And I'm just kidding on that. I'm not asking for anything. You know, I'm just like anybody else. But I really would love to get in a class with David Bowie. I mean, it would just really be something special to me to be able to do that, especially since he's given me the probably the best gun I feel that I've ever had in my life. Not the most expensive, but expensive doesn't mean everything. This is one of the cheaper guns in my collection, one of the mid-grade guns in my collection. Yet it can still be one of the favorite guns I've ever owned. The sights are rocking, no movement, solid as a rock. David Bowie sights cannot give any higher stars than what I rate these sights at. I let 2 different people who had never touched this gun before shoot it at the range. Both those 2 people were ringing a steel plate at an 8-inch plate at 50 feet. Yeah, 50 feet is nothing massive. An 8-inch plate at 50 feet, but they had no experience whatsoever with this gun except for one dry fire. And they were ringing the steel plate using these sights. I'm getting time behind these sights, and I'm finding more and more that this is one of the best sight systems that I ever used, along with the XS Big Dots. All right, guys, I got work I got to put in here. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of look-see, and I'm going to finish cleaning everything up. The lens of the Viridian, this is 300 and some rounds without being cleaned, and you can see that it almost did nothing to it. So there's that. Let me show you the light. Yeah, so I'm real happy. How I carry this for civilian carry is I carry it light and laser on. We'll get into that another day. All right, guys, until next time, I hope you all have a great week. Have an even better weekend. This gun, you have no idea how happy I am that I figured out what the problem was, and the problem has been 100% corrected. This is the only gun that I've ever owned that just makes me speechless. All right, guys, until next time, have a great week, and I'll talk to you real soon. And I'm out.